Welcome to October 2020 Drinks with Darren. It has been a long time since I've been with you guys, and obviously it was a little tough to get into restaurants and go have a pint and talk real estate with you. So we are back, and we are at one of BC staple restaurants. That is White Spot. Now, the reason we're at White Spot today is because we're doing something a little bit different on this Halloween edition of Drinks with Darren. We're going to take you on a little field trip to a place today where you probably think you know the area very well, but I bet you don't know it as well as you're going to after watching this video. Now, you are here for the stats. So going into Halloween, here is how we went into the month of October. The market has been incredibly busy and productive for detached homes, especially entry-level homes in all different communities. In the last 3 months, we have seen prices increase by 3.84%. Which is unbelievable. And in the last year, we've seen them increase 8.71%. For those of you that got into a detached house, what an incredible investment. Now, for us in townhomes, a little bit quieter than detached homes, dependent on the area that you're in. In the last 3 months, we've seen an increase of 1.38% in the values, and in the last year, 4.01%. So townhomes, not as busy as detached, but still have performed relatively well. That leaves us with condominiums. Now, condominiums have certainly been the thorn in the side of 2020, not performing nearly as well, regrettably, as detached homes and townhomes have been. Apartments in the last 3 months have stayed relatively flat. We've seen an ever so slight increase of less than 0.5%, 0.36 in fact. In the last year, 4.67. So long term, they have been pretty good. Just in the last 3 months, it hasn't been overly productive for those. So those are your statistics coming out of last month. Now, because this is a Halloween edition, as I mentioned, let's get out of here. We are going to finish this. This is a lager. It's really good. I think it's Granville Island. I didn't even ask. I just asked for a lager. We're going to finish this, and we're going to take you on a little field trip to one place that is dubbed as one of British Columbia's most haunted locations. You're going to have some fun with this one. It's real estate related, and it's kind of spooky. Let's go. We are at the Castle Neighborhood Grill, the former gatehouse built in 1931 for the BC Penitentiary, or the BC Pen, that occupied most of the area. Now, some of the original buildings of the former BC Pen grounds have since been demolished and replaced by residential housing all around us and parkland, with only 4 of the vestiges of the original prison remaining. The gatehouse, right behind me, the Gold Block building built in 1878, the Coal House just behind us on the Fraser River shoreline, and the cemetery known as Boot Hill. The cemetery is located in an unmarked area of the Glenbrook Ravine Park, and it contains the remains of those prisoners whose bodies were not claimed by their families. There are some pretty interesting stories from this location, and it has been dubbed as one of the most haunted places in British Columbia. The Gold Block building is one of the best known landmarks in New Westminster and was part of the BC Penitentiary when it closed in 1890. The only original Gold Hall was built in 1878 and it was preserved after it was sold to developers. While empty, the buildings were still standing and faces of the inmates were seen to be looking out of the windows of their jail cells. In the housing development that was built on the property, residents have seen apparitions and spotted numerous orbs, which are believed to be the soul of departed people. The Glenbrook Ravine Park is located at the edge of the former BC Penitentiary site. Neighborhood residents have seen the glowing figure of a man walking across the hill. Gunshots have also been heard at the top of the hill, and it's believed that this is the spirit of a man who was shot in the park in the late 1980s. There is also a graveyard from the penitentiary, again dubbed Boot Hill, hidden for years until recently exposed as a result of a land development.
This is kind of spooky to do, especially right before Halloween, but kind of cool. We thought you guys would get a kick out of it. So right here is a really neat sign, BC Penitentiary. Site of BC Penitentiary Cemetery, more commonly referred to as Boot Hill. In 1871, British Columbia joined the Confederation with Canada. The provincial government turned over the ravine lands along with the former Royal Engineers Camp to the Dominion government for use as the new federal penitentiary, with construction commencing in 1874. Although Boot Hill likely welcomed its first bodies back in 1913, the nearby BC Penitentiary had already been in operation since the late 1870s, serving as the province's first maximum security prison, built during the period when New Westminster was still the capital of BC.
On August 8, 1907, it enabled the escape of notorious train robber Bill Miner of Billy Miner Pie fame from the Keg, who actually escaped from this very area just before it became a graveyard around 1907. And despite a province-wide manhunt, he was never recaptured anywhere. The cemetery contains 48 headstones, each bearing 3 or 4-digit prisoner numbers of inmates who died at the penitentiary between 1914 and 1968. Government and media records confirm at least one additional man was buried here in an unmarked grave somewhere near the site in 1913. Local legend has it there were many, many more. When the penitentiary closed in 1980, the ravine lands were permanently turned over to the city for parkland by the Fraser View Development Corporation. Part of the rezoning of the site for a new housing development, the parklands returned to a natural state with the paths connecting the ravine to the woodland site and further north to the Centennial Community Center. The lower part of the ravine was transformed into a beautiful horticultural garden and recreation pass area for new residents of the Fraser View, and rededicated in 1991. The original penitentiary bell was preserved and located here to commemorate the fascinating history of this site. After more than 100 years of service, the penitentiary was demolished in 1980, and today very little of the prison survives.